Young Drunk.
Hey, welcome to the Micheaux Mission. 2 men, 1 podcast, every black film ever made. My name is Len, a.k.a. the Bat Tribble. And as always, I am joined by my partner.
Hey, this is Vincent Williams.
Tonight, folks, we are still in the month of September, which means that the Micheaux Mission is going doc to school as we celebrate all the great black documentaries that have been done over the course of these many years. And tonight we've got a doozy for you from 2008. Vincent has selected Adjust Your Color, The Truth of Petey Greene, the noted mouth of Washington, D.C. from the late 60s into the 80s. Also the subject of a film that was reviewed here on the Micheaux Mission a few years ago, Talk to Me, starring one Don Cheadle. Don Cheadle actually does the makers of the documentary a solid by narrating this documentary, which will be up for review tonight on the Mission. But before that, we want to welcome each and every one of you who are out there watching us as we stream live from Young Chunk, Philadelphia's premier video podcast palace, to all points on Instagram, X, Facebook, and of course, our home on YouTube, where each and every one of you are out there in the chat. Hello, missionaries.
Good evening, one and all.
It is a sad state of affairs tonight here on the Mission and in the heart of Hollywood, and Black Hollywood especially, with the passing of James Earl Jones.
Yeah, elder down.
93 years young.
Real pillar.
The man celebrated one of the few recipients of the EGOT status, meaning that he has a winner of an Emmy, a Golden Globe,
Grammy,
a Grammy, Emmy Award, Grammy Award, Oscar Award, as well as a Tony.
That's right.
Award. And he has actually been featured here on the Mission these many years. We actually have dedicated a section of our website to the films of James Earl Jones that we have reviewed. You can go check that out at micheauxmission.com. What do you have to say, Vincent, of the legacy of one James Earl Jones?
I mean, I think even what you just said about we had to have a section of all of the films that we've reviewed that he's been a part of. He's been a part of so many. I mean, I can't say definitively, but I was thinking about it. I don't know if there's one actor who has been in more films that we've reviewed than James Earl Jones.
Yeah, well, I counted it. He actually has been in 7 films that we've reviewed so far.
Have we reviewed 8 films with the same actor in anything?
Not that I can think of.
You know, like this is someone who runs the gamut from Claudine to Welcome Home Roscoe Jenkins. And just, you know, you think about him in iconic films that don't fall under our purview. Obviously, Star Wars.
Yeah.
But you think about Field of Dreams or The Sandlot or James Earl Jones in that ridiculous / amazing wig in Conan the Barbarian. You know, just a real iconic figure in a time where I think that term iconic is used way too loosely. Like, this is an actual iconic figure.
Yeah, he is. I push back a little bit on it to a degree. Not that he's not an icon. He is. But I think that he is someone who became an icon once he reached a certain age.
Okay.
Right? Because, like, when I think of the great icons of Black cinema, my male, my mind immediately goes to Sidney Poitier.
Of course.
It goes to Denzel Washington.
Absolutely.
You know, and like it goes to the two of them. And fairly recently, as I have been changed, to Harry Belafonte. right?
Sure. I don't even know if he'd be iconic in film.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. That's fair. James Earl Jones, I think, as I actually sat down and got over the awe and shock of oh my God, James Earl Jones, right? You're always too young to go, but the man was 93.
Sure.
Definitely lived, he lived a life.
I always say at some point you cross that Rubicon where people are going to be sad when you die, but no one is surprised anymore.
Right.
When you're a black man, unfortunately.
That starts at 40.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's the scary part.
Yeah.
But as I was thinking about his career, right? It actually is. It actually stunned me. Can you name 5 movies?
Okay.
Where James Earl Jones is the lead?
5 that he's the lead.
Yeah.
Claudine, Great White Hope.
Okay.
So that's 2.
That's 2.
Which is not 5. Okay, Claudine, Great White Hope. Wow.
That's right. Right? Your mind maybe wants to say Bingo Long, but that's really an ensemble.
No, I would not have said Bingo Long. Okay. As you point out, he's not the lead at all.
He's not the lead. Billy D is definitively the lead. And if you want to be, real, it's an ensemble.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he's not even really the lead. And you say Claudine, but he really is like.
Well, the name of the movie is Claudine.
It's Claudine.
It's not Rupert the Trash Man who has abandoned his children.
Right.
Which was a working title.
Yes. Yeah. So that surprised me to a degree. So, because I was like, wow, he really gets relegated to kind of character actor status real quickly. Now, to be fair,
but still has somehow become. I think this is a very interesting detail that you're bringing up.
Because there is also the point that he does make his mark on Broadway and on stage.
Yes, which certainly we have to.
And that's, as many bones as he made on movies, he made probably more bones on stage.
Look, over the past 2 days, the clip that I've watched the most is the "Why Don't You Like Me" monologue from Fences.
Yeah.
So
yeah, which a lot of people may not realize he was in the original production of Fences. So he makes his bones on stage, and he did a fair amount of television. As well.
Sure.
But it was I was like, why didn't he really maximize being that lead, especially coming off of, like you said, The Great White Hope, and showing out in Claudine? And that's when you look into a little bit more of his backstory, and he's come a little sketchy out of his mouth a couple of times.
Well, look,
about some things.
we're gonna stick to the art.
We can stick to the art, but I think we owe it to people to truly get the full measure of the man. You know what I mean? Don't you?
I think that gets really tricky really fast.
Okay.
With these artists.
Okay.
And certainly one of the things that I've tried to lean on as we've gone forward and is that I like to, because especially these old dudes, it doesn't take much to find them saying something real crazy.
Yeah, but...
Or rather saying something that doesn't age well.
Okay, but...
And if it's not something that... And I don't even know which part of his personality... Do you think that affected his career, whatever it is you're alluding to?
Well, I think it did. I think fairly early in his career, I think it was in the mid 60s, where you might want to say, well, it was the mid 60s. The man was about in his 30s, so he wasn't a young man, a young buck. He came out of his mouth a little bit about black women.
Oh, that didn't affect his career at all.
Oh, I think it did.
If hating black women affected somebody's career, 90% of these dudes would not have careers.
Being as vocal about it.
Yes.
I don't know. I think
Right. Like I know, like, okay, millennial online person. I know that upsets some people today who are like 30, but there's absolutely no way whatsoever anything that he said about black women affected his career.
I disagree. I think that
Because how?
because what you see is someone whose career did not advance as much as one of his talent you might think would.
Okay, look, and I really don't want to. Neither Sidney Poitier nor Harry Belafonte were great lovers of the sisters, vocally. And there's Sidney Poitier and Harry Belafonte. Again, if you go down the line with these, you are hard pressed to find any of these black men today.
But you're saying that Sidney and Harry weren't great lovers of the sisters vocally.
Yes.
Meaning that you say...
Yes, public statements, like you're talking about that interview he did with his wife that everybody been running up and down the timeline. And I'm saying, yes, personally, he said some whack stuff. What I'm pushing back on is that somehow that affected his career. Because talking bad about black women never affects anyone's career. And my proof is black men's careers. Like, that's my proof. Black men's careers.
Okay.
Like, you know, again, especially you talk about these old dudes. Like, none of them, again, were the great lovers of black womanhood. Which is why it's best if we just sort of, you know, kind of stick with the talent.
Okay.
You know, like I said, I'm just talking about the man's movies. Because, I mean, am I wrong? Like, am I? If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
I off the top of my head, I can't remember any public statements that came out from about Sidney or Harry.
Eartha Kitt has been quite vocal. Diane Carroll has been quite vocal.
Yes.
People they've been quite vocal about these men. You know, again, what the hell are you talking about right now? Like somehow black women, like somebody gives a shit about black women. When did this happen? When was this great utopian moment where these white men in these boardrooms said, well, I don't really like the
I'm not saying
that they've made about black women.
I'm not saying that
I'm not
saying that history in general has not.
No, not history in general. History, period.
Yes, history, period. I'm not saying that history has been kind to black women. I'm not saying that.
No. I'm not talking about history being kind. I'm saying that as a black celebrity, a black creative.
Yes.
I'm going to open up the menu now. You can choose your art form. That a black man being vocally engaging in misogynoir and just generally talking slick has affected their career. Certainly not during James Earl Jones's moment, and arguably at this exact second.
Okay.
Chris Brown can come in here and buy and sell me and you right now. He come in here and buy this whole studio, shut this whole building down.
Yeah.
I really like Darth Vader, though.
I like him as Darth Vader as well.
Yes.
I like him as Darth Vader. I enjoy him. I read a very charming story about how he did a guest spot on the Garfield cartoon show.
Sure, why not?
And actually asked that he get paid the same as everybody else.
Look at that.
You know, and this was in the 90s.
Yeah.
You know, where he certainly could have gotten like 10 times as much.
Yeah.
So,
having said that, I don't think it's unfair to judge somebody by what they say. Like, if you said it, you said it. And you know, certainly I do think some of the critiques that have emerged are look, you said stuff, you did stuff. I think it's a lot of people and dare I say, a lot of black men that have gone on record with some things that, heaven forbid if something happens, because again, once you get past 40, people are sad, but nobody's surprised. That people are going to say, yeah, I remember back in 1995 when you said fill in the blank, this, that, and the other. And look, hey.
Yeah, well.
Hey.
I don't know. But look, I'm sad that
I really enjoyed that wig he had on in
Conan the Barbarian.
And he kind of pulled that off.
What are your 3 favorite James Earl Jones
movies?
Yeah.
Claudine.
In here.
The Sandlot.
Okay.
Bingo Long.
Okay. Interesting. I would say, in no order, I would say Conan the Barbarian.
He's fantastic.
He is absolutely fantastic in Conan the Barbarian. I would say The Sandlot.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm going to say he is good in Bingo Long, but I don't want to go Bingo Long. I think
he's really good in The Great White Hope, a
Yes.
film that we're overdue.
Yeah, and I've seen it, but it's been a minute since I've seen it, because I was going to say Great White Hope, but it's been a minute since I've seen it, and I want to be fair. But I'll say Great White Hope because I remember really enjoying that movie. So yeah, I'll say they're my 3 favorite. The only reason I'm not picking one of the Star Wars films is because it's really just his voice.
Right. Although if you've ever seen the footage with and I forget the guy's name who's actually in the costume. It completely changes everything. Like his voice elevates the material.
Oh yeah,
so much.
Yeah,
that
of course. Maybe my favorite James Earl Jones role is him just saying, "This is CNN."
This is CNN. Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But gone too soon.
Gone
James
too soon.
Earl Jones.
Gone too soon. Glad we have the footage.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
All right, let's hear from you, folks, with your emails, or as we like to call them,
missives from the missionaries.
What else is going on, Lynn?
We have emails, Vincent.
Ooh, missives from the missionaries.
Ooh. Ooh. Ooh.
Missives from the missionaries.
All from, and I just want to make sure that I'm getting this one correct. Yes. Brooks.
Hey, what's up, Monica?
Greetings. As a hip hop head, I love when you tie black movies with hip hop.
All right.
While I do agree that the greatness that is Rappin' Duke is up there with Cars That Go Boom by L. Trim, I want to ask you a question as East Coast folks. I heard Len said he enjoys the DOC, a Texas rapper in Dre's camp. What was your intro to West Coast music hip hop? Thank you for your documentary theme month. It's great to learn new stories. Monica L. Brooks from Oakland, California.
Oh yeah, that's a good question. What was your first? And I'll twist her question a little bit. Who was the first West Coast MC that made you go, okay, they doing some stuff over there?
That's a good question. It probably was NWA, but not NWA necessarily. It was because NWA introduced me to Ice Cube.
Yeah.
And I quickly, because Eazy-E did nothing for me.
No.
But hearing like, okay, he's got a group, and let me hear the group, and I zeroed in on Ice Cube immediately. And that's what turned me on the West Coast.
Same, like word for word. I remember hearing NWA for the first time, and I really did think Ice Cube was spitting. Mm-hmm. Ice Cube, this guy's actually spitting. Like I know it's easy to say something like, I love Souls of Mischief, I love The Far Side, but at the risk of sounding stereotypical, they, Del the Funky Homo Sapien, they sound like East Coast guys. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like Ice Cube had a cadence, he was, this was someone who was not from New York.
Yeah. Yeah.
And had his own flow.
And then when you saw him in the video,
yeah.
He's the one that had the swag that felt 100% authentic.
Yeah.
He's the one he could pull off a jerry curl.
Yeah.
Not too many people can pull off a jerry curl. He pulled it off.
I remember I was sitting with my boy and we listened to Doggy Style for the first time.
Okay.
And we'd already heard Snoop a little bit just with Deep Cover. And did the Chronic come out before Doggy Style?
I think the Chronic came out. Why do I think it came out after?
Regardless, I kind of knew who Snoop was.
Okay.
But I wasn't really. But I remember Doggy Style was like a nuclear bomb.
Oh, yeah, Doggy Style hit. Ridiculous.
I remember thinking Snoop was we were talking last week how Nas is my favorite MC, and what I always said, Nas is like water, it just the flow is just endless, and I remember thinking that about Snoop.
The Chronic did come out. The Chronic came out in '92,
right? And he's on the Chronic, obviously.
Yeah, Doggy Style came out in '93.
But I remember listening to Doggy Style for the first time, and I was like, this dude is just on another level.
Yeah,
but distinctly West Coast.
Yeah, but Ice-T precedes them though.
I never liked Ice-T. I don't like Ice-T hip hop right now.
Yeah,
you're about to say something about 6 in the morning, aren't you?
Well, no, I was actually just about to say I don't think we really liked Ice-T. We just like Ice-T, its album cover.
Right.
That's what we like.
Right. I can see a woman in a thong and not have to listen to Ice-T rap though.
I did.
It did seem like everybody had that album, but nobody's listening to it.
Nobody's listening.
Right.
And you listen to 6 in the morning because it was probably the best.
Right. And we were sort of contractually bound.
Right.
That was the Ice-T song. Yeah, but what about 6 in the morning? All right, yeah, sure, 6 in the morning. Yeah, absolutely.
They hand me them texts so I can put the thing up. Put the album cover up.
Boy. We'll be talking about specificity in blackness when we talk about this documentary. That's very specific right there.
Amen.
That is a very specific moment. People had, what was the name of that album?
I don't know. I know what it looked like.
Right, because she had on the red, and then the back of it, it was her. He had the gun behind his back.
She had the gun.
Did she have a gun?
She had this thought off.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought he had something behind his back.
I think he may have been holding something, but he was holding something behind his back.
Right.
She had it on
because the back of the album was the back of them, which was a big deal.
But you saw her with the gun.
Right. She had on a thong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was white.
Oh, that is funny. Everybody had that album, but nobody was actually listening. Well, no one we knew was actually listening. You got to put the qualifier in there.
I didn't listen to it.
But yeah, Ice Cube. And then, like I said, Snoop was just from another planet. So, but thank you, Monica, for allowing us to go down West Coast memory lane.
I appreciate it, most definitely. All right, we have another email, Vincent.
Mm-hmm.
This email is from Corey.
What's up, Corey?
Hello, Len, Vincent, and missionaries. I hope you both had a great week. 2 black movies you both should be on the lookout for is She Taught Love, that will be on Hulu in September.
Okay.
and Exhibiting Forgiveness that comes out next month in theaters, starring Andre Holland and Andra Day. Last week, I listened to your review on Who's the Man, starring Dr. Dre and Ed Lover from Yo MTV Raps, and offer one correction. Dr. Dre is actually still alive. He was diagnosed with 2 types of diabetes. Also, as I'm on this journey with you both, this may be the first episode that I was shocked that Lynn actually liked the movie more than Vincent did.
It doesn't happen that often.
Not often at all.
But those are great episodes.
I do have a question for you to discuss. Do you think the show 227 with TV icon Marla Gibbs and introducing a young Regina King
It's no place like home
is considered underrated? I'm asking this because often when I see rankings of black TV shows, sometimes 227 is left out. To me, I think the show never got its due. You even had the hilarious Jockey who played Sandra. I would love to hear your thoughts from a fellow missionary, Corey. What are your thoughts on 227, old pop culture critic?
First of all, before I start, let me just say this. This is not my fault. This is from the letter.
Oh, boy.
This is from the letter. This is not my fault, Lynn. I didn't read the letter in advance.
No, you did not.
Lynn teases me gently, but he's serious. Like I always say, we should try and stay on track, and then I'm the one that throws us off.
Yes.
Like,
you always...
Like to be clear, I'm the one that says...
Before the camera comes on.
I say, let's go. We're going to do it.
We're going to keep it lean is always what he said.
Right, and then I'm the one that I like this is all...
Squirrel.
This is me, missionaries. But let the record show, Corey asked about 227.
She asked a question.
Yes.
I begin my tryst.
The year was 1937. Negroes had just entered the state of Montana.
Like, all this land. Go ahead.
I do think it is what we would call underrated because, and this is something that I've been talking about this entire week with my wife. Believe it or not, because she's been watching. I think it's called like Women of a Certain Age or something. It's a show. It's like Tisha Campbell, Yvette Nicole Carson, and I forget the other sister's name. But it's like on Bounce or TV One. Like,
but is it a talk show?
No. It's a television show. It's a scripted show. But like it's this whole group of of original programming.
Okay.
On like Aspire and Bounce. And
yeah.
Like I call them like the Upshaw group of black shows.
Okay.
That the older I get, the more I like them as a concept, even though I don't necessarily want to watch them. Like this sort of
like they exist.
I love the fact that there is this entire group of black programs that aren't like rock or Frank's Place or the the Cosby Show or these sort of pristine prestige productions. But they're also not like sorry, but like like Tyler Perry's group of shows that you can tell, frankly, he throws them together.
Or they're not. To be fair, not speak on Tyler Perry. They're not homeboys in space.
They're not homeboy, right? But they're like these sort of solid,
middle of the road shows,
kind of meat and potato-y. Like that, there used to be
they're home improvement,
right? Like you think about like the Jamie Foxx show or the Wayans brothers, like these shows that again weren't necessarily shows that would appeal to me, but they're also not. As I will use Homeboys in Outer Space as a placeholder. Like I love that they exist in this space of black viewership, blackness, this, that, and other. And I think 227 and Amen
were good one.
were part of, you think like 227, Amen. I'm trying to think of a third example because I do think Gimme a Break was made for white people.
I'll give you a third example. Hanging with Mr. Cooper.
Hanging with Mr. Cooper. But like these kind of middle of the road, and then like the ones that came right after them. You think of like Sister or One on One. Like when the CW and the WB first started.
The Parenthood.
I love these shows. Like I love that they exist. I love that they kind of find audiences. As time goes on, I'm becoming more and more of a fan of the Upshaws, and the way
Netflix show, right?
The Netflix show, the Upshaws, but how it's like unapologetically middle of the road.
Yeah.
Right. Again, we're not trying to achieve. We have a play every week,
right?
Like they did with Rock. But at the same time, it's not this schlock.
Right.
And I think 227 was one of those shows. Like I'm probably never going to watch another episode of 227 again in my entire life. But I respect what it was. I respect what it represented. I respect the depiction of blackness in the 80s. And I think part of the reason that it is what we would call underrated is frankly because white people do not value art that does not appeal to them.
Yes.
And this is something that as people who are oppressed, frankly, like we gotta figure out, like we have one of the inadvertent gifts is that we can watch something like Seinfeld or Frasier or Taxi.
Yes.
And no one in those writers' rooms were thinking about us at all.
At all.
But we can see the value in it. We can see the quality. We can be fans of it. Yes. And very rarely, if ever, does the reverse happen.
Exactly.
So that, I would say it's underrated.
Yeah.
Was that too bad?
No, that's perfect.
It was good.
That was perfect, and it was succinct.
Was that succinct enough
for you?
That's not. All right. Okay.
Very good.
All right.
I agree. Let's move on to the next email.
Because we're gonna keep it right on.
We are. We have an email from Ron Covington.
Hey, what's up, Ron?
And this is actually in discussion of the documentary that we were going to be reviewing this week. Dear Vince and Lynn, I saw Mr. Soul a few years ago, and it brought back memories I had of the show that aired on PBS. I remember enjoying it as a young kid, especially an episode with the Spinners and one with a very informative conversation with Ron O'Neill about the whole controversy surrounding Superfly. Anna Maria Horsford was a producer on the show and sent me a link to some episodes a while ago. This show was produced definitely through a black lens. Mr. Soul is actually the documentary that we were originally scheduled to review this week. We did all the research.
It was streaming.
It was streaming.
You know what happened? We got caught out because the month changed.
Yeah, it was streaming last month.
It was streaming last month.
This month it was removed. So, and now it's nowhere to be found. It's not even on any of the free.
Our good friend Mike Dennis in Real Black posted on Instagram, I think last week, that there are episodes of Soul that have been posted.
Yes, there are episodes out there. You can see episodes of the show out there on YouTube, most definitely.
Yeah.
But we definitely wanted to review the documentary. Ron continues, on the other side of the coin was a special on NBC in 1968 called Soul, produced by George Schlatter of Laugh-In fame, which was essentially Laugh-In with musical numbers and a black cast.
I'm sorry, that's what Mike was talking about last week. About this Soul.
Okay.
All right. Go.
But there are episodes of
Soul out there too. Yeah.
This Soul included a cast of Lou Rawls, Nipsey Russell, Red Fox, the Hines and Dad, the Hines brothers and their father, Chelsea Brown, George Kirby, Joe Tex, Judy Pace, and among others. The writing was credited to the Watts Writing Project, but felt heavily edited for a mainstream audience that wanted a taste of blackness, but not too black. This was obviously a pilot that didn't bear fruit. Not a bad show, but a product of its time, firmly presented through a Hollywood lens. I look forward to checking that out. The contrast here between Black created media and Black targeted media is very profound. A major emphasis in the entertainment biz is profit. Do you think there has been any more success in today's market in Black created media as opposed to only Black targeted media? As always, love the thoughtful, entertaining conversation. Ron. Do you think there has been any more success in today's market in Black created media? To a degree, you want to say there's been some more success because more things are getting to screen. Mm-hmm. And there certainly are more outlets, as you just alluded to, with mm-hmm. Bounce and Aspire. Mm-hmm. So there are more opportunities for those voices to be heard. But we do hear of stories. I'm just thinking Lovecraft Country immediately comes to mind, of shows getting just like the one time at bat mm-hmm. and then being taken down for whatever reason. And there may be some mitigating factors in all of that. But I think that the opportunities are more there for Black created media mm-hmm. as opposed to Black targeted media. Now, how successful that media is in finding an audience, a sustainable audience, an audience that can sustain it for mm-hmm. a long time, especially in today's climate where everything is streaming, where these channels that you talk about, these cable channels, cable is becoming less and less of a thing. Mm-hmm. More and more people are cutting the cords. So how successful they can be over a course of time, that's a story that's yet to be told. But I think there's more success.
Yeah. I took a shot at him, so now I'll compliment him. I think Tyler Perry has shown that you can have an empire with Black created and Black aimed content. I think Bel Air is chugging along on the Peacock. I think their third season just stopped. Would we count Unprisoned? I don't know if you want to count Unprisoned. I'm really looking forward to and I just forgot the name of the sister's show. Natasha Rothwell.
Oh yeah, who was on
Insecure and White Lotus.
And White Lotus, yeah.
But her project is either dropping this week or next week, and it's been getting good reviews. And then, arguably the biggest breakout show on network television of the past 5 years, Abbott Elementary.
Yeah,
is a Black created show. So, we're bullish.
Definitely. Mm-hmm. Definitely. Okay. Let's go. I think we have two more. We got one more email.
Okay.
From Michael Sykes.
What's up, Michael?
Hello, Len and Vincent. This is your fan, Michael. I listened to y'all episode on Clockers.
Okay.
And I remember how y'all were talking about a scene in the beginning of the movie where they were talking about hip hop and how Spike Lee then was the old head of hip hop, and nobody ever has a conversation about hip hop like they did in the movie Clockers, and how trap music is bad. Today, hip hop has gone way downhill since 1995. You got a 9-year-old named Lil RT who's in the strip clubs slapping grown women's booty, rapping about murder and drugs, and yet his parents are nowhere around.
Yeah.
I pray he don't end up like Lil Yummy, a.k.a. Robert Sandiford.
Okay.
Len and Vincent, I know y'all love hip hop, but I have one question. How do y'all feel about the state of hip hop today? With artists like Sexy Red, Megan Thee Stallion, Young Thug, Ice Spice, trap, and drill music. Love your fan, Michael Sykes. Well, Vincent is the music critic.
Nope.
Vincent is the longtime music critic. From Baltimore. 10 years he wrote a column. Vincent is a big time hip hop head. Vincent.
The year was 1930. A young Robert Johnson sold his soul at the crossroads. Look. Not 10 minutes ago, we were just talking about Doggy Style, which when Doggy Style came out, the pearl clutching. The pearl clutching with Doggy Style. And now Snoop is representing the United States at the Olympics. I think there is a long, very well-honored tradition of young people's music being hated by older people. I believe it was Louis Armstrong. I'll go back to, I think Louis Armstrong called bebop, quote unquote, that Chinese music.
Yes.
So look, man, I don't like none of this shit. But I'm also in my 50s. My favorite thing about now, Common and Pete Rock just dropped an album a few months ago. Nas, my beloved Nas, has released 3 bangers over the past 3 years. Like King's Disease 3 is crazy. I don't know if LL Cool J's album produced by Q-Tip, the whole album is out yet. But I don't have to listen to, like, Michael, we don't have to listen to that. You don't have.
He don't listen to that.
And
That's
look, your copy of Liquid Swords still works. Right? Doesn't it?
Yes.
You know, your beloved Heavy D. My favorite Heavy D album is Blue Funk, the one they made after Trouble T. Roy died, that Pete Rock produced the whole thing. I was listening to the Blue Funk like 2 weeks ago. Like he rattled off, because he said something like, I don't want him to turn out like, and then he said some words like Lil Yum Yum, AKA Bobbity Boop Boop. I'm like, hey man. He said, R7 was in the strip club. Like he used a bunch of words. I thought he was having a fit. I don't know who none of these people are.
I mean, I don't
really care.
And that's fine. It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that hip hop is in a bad space or anything like that.
Look,
it's the natural progression and changeover of things. Hip hop has shed many skins since the last time we really checked into hip hop. And it still will shed again. A lot of these are like, I'm saying, I like Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar is old school.
Look.
Like Kendrick Lamar is going to look. He's going to be at the Super Bowl halftime.
Look. Lynn, can I kick it?
Yes, you can.
See? There you go. That still works.
Yes, it is.
That still works. That still works. If I wear my Tribe Called Quest shirt, middle-aged white men all throughout Philadelphia say, can I kick it? And I say, yes, you can.
Then they chase him down the street trying to kick him.
Right.
But that's a whole nother
Look.
story.
Let the kids have their music. And
let them have their fun.
Let them have their fun and look.
We got one more email, Vincent.
Yes, all right.
We can't do one Michael without the other.
No,
Michael
we can't.
Lockett.
That's right.
What's up, brothers? Len and Vincent, you're outdoing yourselves, and we reap the benefits.
All right. Thank you.
I feel that you both are getting better and better with your critiques and raising your own bars for your show. Case in point, Rise, which we reviewed last week. The examination and critique of this documentary was genuine and thought-provoking. I am happy both of you, in different ways, drove home the point that whenever anyone, but especially our magically melanated selves, can find a positive outlet that allows expression, we have a Zen place. In reference to the Olympics breakdancing scandal, I liken it to the Kendrick Drake beef. Some people are about the culture and want to embolden and uplift it, and others simply want to whitewash and monetize it. During my time travels, I dropped in with you two as you talked about the stellar Set It Off. Sometimes you remember something being good, like Good Grits, but can't put your finger on exactly why until you get another taste. Set It Off is like this. The way these four women constantly elevate each other's performances. I can't think of better performances by Vivica or Jada than this film. And you know what? He makes a good point. Maybe Soul Food.
I was just, I love Vivica Fox.
As far as Vivica in Soul Food,
I love her in Soul Food.
But that would be the only one that gives her a running.
And Jada Pinkett.
Yeah, I would say this. There's a part of me like I adore Jada Pinkett in Low Down Dirty Shame.
I've not seen that in many years, and that's
I adore her in that, but I got to say probably her most nuanced, her best performance. It may be this.
Yeah.
I mean, she's good because isn't she in Collateral? She's in Collateral.
I have no memory of Collateral.
She's in Collateral.
Like I know I saw it, but I have no memory
that's
of it.
Jamie Foxx.
Tom Cruise.
She's in that.
Yeah.
But that's a smaller role.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say this.
I seem to remember liking her in Bamboozled, but I think she's better in this.
Yeah, I'd have to see Bamboozled again.
Yeah, I think this might be my favorite Jada Pinkett performance too.
All right. Yeah, Michael has a question.
Okay.
As you two flirted with death with the Patti LaBelle bashing in Philly.
He gonna ask me about 70s jazz and soul now?
No, he's not. It made me wonder.
Can you talk about Rod Temperton and Charles Stepney?
It made me wonder which eventual solo artists were better or more prolific with it when they were with their group. I always lean in hard on Philip Bailey versus Earth, Wind, and Fire. All the best, Michael Lockett.
Okay. It's a good question. Favorite solo artist that was better in a group?
Philip Bailey is definitely a good one. And
that is a good one.
I like Philip Bailey, but he's a good one. I can't even think of his name. That's why who was the guy that left Kool and the Gang?
Oh, J.T. Taylor.
J.T. Taylor.
Jesus.
That was a failure. That was a failure.
Of course, I didn't like Kool and the Gang once he came to the foreground.
Well, okay, fair enough. But they had their biggest hits with him.
Yeah, sure.
And nothing after. Your beloved Morris Day.
Yeah, I mean, are we going to say Morris Day had a solo career? Is that what we're going with?
He went solo.
Okay, all right, sure.
He did go solo.
Yes, you're right. The time, he was better with the time than whatever he did when he left the time.
Out of time.
Sure.
He was better with the time than out of time.
All right, sure. All right. Anybody else?
Well, you can't. Well, hey, I hate to say it. Don't come at me, Toya. But Ralph Tresvant.
Yeah.
Ralph.
Yeah.
And I understand the move, bruh.
I think Toy would agree with you because Toy has always said that it was a misfire with the way he kind of came out, and then he just sort of tumbled. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's a good one.
Ralph.
That's a good one.
I was trying to think of like any girl groups, but there's not any really that come to mind.
No.
Especially not that stumbled.
Well, it's that fascinating 2 or 3 year period before she hooked up with I just forget Chic Man's name.
Who?
Nile Rodgers, where Diana Ross kind of floundered before she hooked up with Nile Rodgers.
Yeah, when she left.
Right, that was an interesting moment.
Yeah, okay.
At the risk of.
But once she hooked up, it was.
And is he saying Because he's not saying successful.
Saying more,
He's saying what we like.
More prolific. So they actually put out stuff. I read that as successful.
Okay. I like Patti LaBelle, just to step on that third rail again. I like LaBelle better than I like any of Patti LaBelle's solo work.
Oh, that's interesting.
But I know that's just.
But that's
and that's kind of music hipstery. Like,
yeah.
That's that stuff, that nonsense.
And you certainly can't say LaBelle is more.
Not
successful.
at all. Yeah, not at all.
Because there are a lot of people that don't know Patti LaBelle is in the group.
I don't think Jeffrey Osborne did anything once he left LTD that was worth the price of him leaving LTD.
Fair, but he was successful.
Oh, okay. Well, look.
And he was prolific. I mean, he put out like about a good 4 or 5 albums that did very well after that.
Right. Well, let me look. Okay.
I'm just
Right.
Give him his due.
Sure. So I guess you could probably say the same about. Could you say that about Howard Hewitt?
See, I was actually going to think about
Because I
Howard
think
Hewitt.
his Shalimar work, again.
But you know what? I think Howard Hewitt fits in the Philip Bailey role because Howard Hewitt, he had a couple of hits just like Philip Bailey did. But I don't think you would say he was more prolific than Shalimar. Even they probably put out about the same amount of stuff, but the Shalimar stuff was
I can't think of one Howard Hewitt song besides Amen. And you're going to name something that, like, if I heard it on the radio, I'd go, oh, yeah, I remember that song.
I seem to think there's another one, but I
I'm
might
sure
be thinking
there
about
was.
Amen. I might
Yeah.
be thinking about Amen.
But, yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
There you go.
So there you go.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you, Michael, for
Thank
that
you,
email.
Michael.
Appreciate it. All right, folks. It is now time for us to move on to our another feature in the show where I give Vincent a list and he gives us his scintillating commentary. Mm-hmm. We like to call this the Top 5.
Top 5.
Top 5. Who's your top 5? My top 5 is. My top 5 is. My top 5 is.
All right, first I want to give a shout out to all of you who are staying with us because I know we're getting close to the 8 o'clock hour where pregame for the big debate is starting. Mm-hmm. I know a bunch of people who actually were doing a liquor run
Okay.
ahead of the debate.
I can't even pretend that I'm going to watch.
You're not going to watch it at
Not
all?
at all. Not at all.
Not even like the afterwards?
I will wait till the
post-game?
dust settles. And yeah, I'm not.
So you're not going to even check into it until tomorrow?
Yeah, look, man. I wish we'd just go ahead and have the election. Like, nobody's changing their mind. And, like, everybody knows who they're voting for.
Do you think that
Everyone knows who they're voting for right now. Everyone.
I don't know.
Everyone. There's nothing, if you are open to voting for Donald Trump, there is nothing that could happen on earth between now and November to make you change your mind.
Well, you said if you are open to voting for him. That's different than saying if you know you're...
Either you're going to vote for who you're going to vote for or you're going to stay home. Those are the variables.
Okay.
But nobody is like this is not Red Rover. Like, there's no Red Rover. I was going to vote for Kamala Harris, but then Donald Trump fill in the blank, and now I'm voting for Donald Trump, and vice versa.
Yeah. I give you that.
So, you know.
I give you that. All right. Our top 5 is keeping it in theme, and it's still kind of in theme with what we're doing.
Okay.
We're going to be reviewing Adjust Your Color, The Truth of Petey Greene, the radio disc jockey from Washington, D.C. area of the 60s and 70s. But originally, we were going to be reviewing Mr. Soul, which is a short-run black music television show that's highlighted black music and a syndicated show. And keeping in theme with that, I wanted to look at other short-run black shows that highlighted black music that might also be worthy of documentary treatment.
Love it.
If they haven't already been. And some of them, they may have been, and I'm just not aware of.
Love it.
All right.
All right. What we got?
So starting with, this
Sounds
is
like
black
YouTube bait.
black music TV history, starting with number 5. From 1956 and 57.
Oh, okay.
The Nat King Cole Show.
Yeah.
Nat King Cole on November of 1956. The Nat King Cole Show debuted on NBC. The variety program was one of the first, hosted by an African American. It started originally as only a 15-minute show, but it increased to a half hour in July of 57. It had one regional sponsor, which was the Rheingold Beer Company, but a national sponsor, unfortunately, was never found. And therefore, the show was always in trouble financially with NBC. Nonetheless, this show, which would feature the great stars of the time, such as Harry Belafonte, Ella Fitzgerald, Eartha Kitt, Frankie Lane, as well as Tony Bennett and Mel Torme. It was Nat King Cole, not NBC, who decided to end this show in 1957. Commenting on the lack of sponsorship, Nat King Cole said soon after the show's demise, Madison Avenue is afraid of the dark. When Max Factor Cosmetics told NBC executives that a Negro couldn't sell lipstick,
Sure.
Nat King Cole responded angrily, "Well, what do you think we use? Chalk?"
Yeah. Was this the Doris Day story show? Have you ever heard the Doris Day story?
No, that was actually on the Doris Day show.
That was the Doris Day show where she
About-
touched the
she
black
touched
dude,
him on the shoulder.
and that blew up everything.
That blew up everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the Nat King Cole show, for its time, I think it's worthy of rediscovering.
Of course.
For many reasons. One, because of Nat King Cole and his place in contemporary black history, black history period, let alone black music history. But also, I think that in the 50s, his show, as short-lived as it was a very strong counterpoint to the way Hollywood saw and presented black entertainment.
How many episodes were there?
I believe there were 64 episodes.
Shut the front door.
Yeah, 64 episodes.
64 episodes?
Yeah.
You know, I was over here thinking it was on for like an hour and a half, and then they pulled the plug.
No, it was 64 episodes. I mean,
There were only 72 episodes of Game of Thrones.
there you go. There you go. It was a different time. But you have to also remember at this time, this show is running on TV at the same time as Amos and Andy is running on TV.
And that's how we like our Negroes.
And that's how they like their Negroes.
Well, I sure don't think we should be doing this, that, and the other over here.
Hey, Kingfish. Yeah, that's what they like. Nat King Cole, who decidedly, if you ever see the videos, if you haven't seen videos of Nat King Cole, was just a smooth man. He was smooth. He was not slick with it. He was very, very urbane, very, very, very meticulous in his demeanor and his dress and his look and in the music that he presented. And his show was, followed in that fashion. You came on Nat King Cole show. You came on in your best suit, if not a tux, and the women were in dresses and gowns, and it was a beautiful affair. And to see these performers presented in that way weekly on television, I think is a strong documentation of, the aspirations that we had at that time.
I agree. I'm surprised they haven't boxed it up. Like, I didn't know it was that many episodes. That's ridiculous that you can't find that. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So the Nat King Cole is definitely a show, and to be fair, it may be boxed up. I believe there are some episodes out there. This was in the time where things were being filmed, and let's be honest, not just Nat King Cole. A lot of shows, their films were being destroyed immediately or taped over.
Sure.
And not just Nat King Cole. There was a lot of white shows too. That wasn't necessarily a racist thing. It's just what they did at that time.
But it was totally racist. Go ahead.
Okay. So there may be box sets, but I think that is a show that is worthy of really exploring.
All right.
And somebody doing like a dissertation on that. All right. Next we have from 1961 that ran through 1968. You may be aware of this show, Vincent.
Okay.
It was hosted by Rolling Stone co-founder Ralph Gleason, Jazz Casual.
Yeah.
Familiar with
I
this
am
show?
not familiar with this.
This black and white show, or prototypical public television of the era, bare bone stages, basic camera shots, mediocre audio, and a stuffy overall atmosphere, but the lack of gloss is mostly a plus, as there's nothing to supply entertainment beyond the musicians, who were given complete freedom to perform however they chose.
Very nice.
And without excessive intrusion, most play superbly. All 28 episodes of America's first television jazz series are featured in the 8 DVD box set, The Complete Jazz Casual Series, where a huge number of legendary musicians such as John Coltrane and Dizzy Gillespie displayed their prowess from 1961 to 1968. Whereas the Burns series, jazz, that big documentary, is slick and sometimes drones on. Jazz Casual is raw and immensely more enjoyable. You can see performers such as B.B. King at the top of his game, or
those are good years.
Paul Winter playing the best solos of his career with his sextet. And there's almost never a sense that any player is mailing it in. The only oddity is wondering if they failed to keep the studio cool enough, because a lot of the musicians are sweating.
Oh.
Yeah, but
very nice.
Yeah, that's a box set.
That's a good pull.
Actually.
All right. Yeah. Jot that down.
Yeah.
The holidays are coming, folks. Yeah.
Jazz.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Love that, right?
Love that.
All right. There's another show.
Okay.
From 1966.
All right. Good years.
Short run show that ran for only 26 episodes in syndication out of Nashville.
Okay.
Hosted by disc jockey Bill Haas Allen, and featuring a house band led by Clarence Gatemouth Brown.
Okay.
That included David Fathead Newman.
Oh.
This is called
Dad's favorite horn player.
The Bleep Beat from 1966. Now, I'm saying bleep, but it actually is called the ! Beat.
Very nice.
The show was recorded in color at WFAA, the ABC affiliate in Dallas, because they had color facilities, but it was then syndicated into Nashville and across the country. Guests included Esther Phillips.
Nice.
Joe Tex.
Nice.
Etta James.
Nice.
Lattimore Brown.
Nice.
Roscoe Shelton. Carla Thomas.
Nice.
Freddie King.
Nice. Okay.
Barbara Lynn. Johnny Taylor. Louis Jordan. Clarence Frogman Henry. Robert Parker. Joe Simon. Bobby Hepp. Willie Mitchell. Don Bryant. Percy Sledge. The Bar-Kays. And Sam and Dave all appeared on this show. All 26 episodes, as I mentioned, excuse me, are available in the 6 volumes as a CD or DVD set. This series, actually for decades, was thought to be lost. However, it was actually found in the personal
basement.
Not Isaac Hayes, amongst the personal belongings of one Willie Nelson.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a real Southern soul Stax heavy Lana. Very nice.
Yes,
Yeah, all
yes.
right, Willie. Why did Willie Nelson have it?
Who knows? Who knows? In the 2000 book Station to Station, The History of Rock and Roll on Television, Mark Weingarten noted about this show that it is far and away the quirkiest and coolest R&B driven television show of the decade.
All right. Also on the list.
There you go.
Two very good pulls.
All right.
All right.
Number two.
Number two.
This is a show that we have talked about a great deal here on The Mission over the years.
Hee-haw.
Same time period.
Same time period.
Wrong show.
Wrong show.
This show aired from 1970 to 1974. The Flip Wilson Show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. No doubt.
The Flip Wilson Show, which starred, of course, American comedian Flip Wilson, was one of the highest rated TV shows throughout its run, and would go on to feature for the first time, not for the first time, but in front of a live audience, in color, big and bold, feature among the many stars of comedians Ella Fitzgerald, James Brown, Louis Armstrong, Lena Horne, Stevie Wonder, the Jackson 5, the Chi-Lites, Ray Charles, Aretha Franklin, Gladys Knight and the Pips, the Pointer Sisters, Charlie Pride, Johnny Mathis, the Temptations, and the Supremes, all of whom not only would perform multiple songs on this show, but would also get the opportunity to showcase their other talents by performing in
the
comedy
skit.
skits.
Oh.
With Flip Wilson.
Oh, the Flip Wilson Show was gold.
Yeah.
Absolute gold. Yeah. And I see Deborah pointed out, it's on Tubi.
Oh, the Flip Wilson Show, yes. It's definitely out there.
Oh.
And again, it's out there. A lot of these things are out there for you to see. But I think the Flip Wilson Show.
I'm almost positive they've had a box set.
No. I'm
Okay.
sure there is a box set, but I think there is something to be said about like to have all of these things in one place is beautiful. But I also think there is a reward to having a documentary about a thing.
And just on the musical acts.
You can do it just on the music. Well, fair enough. On the Flip Wilson Show, it could just be on the show.
Yeah.
But on the musical acts alone and what that outlet means to it. But where I was going was about the Flip Wilson Show, because I think, and Flip Wilson, I honestly could take or leave him as a comedian.
Me
the
too.
times that I've seen him
Me too.
do his comedy. But for what that show was, and as much as he played a part in making that show what it is, I think he deserves his just due.
I agree.
And I think the show deserves its just due. And I think a documentary, having, people really give the historic consideration to this show that it deserves is a worthwhile endeavor.
I agree. 100%. Yeah.
So there you go. All right. And number one,
and this is Flip Wilson.
And okay, fair. This is in front of Flip Wilson, but this is only in front of Flip Wilson because I'm going in, if you'll notice, chronological order.
Okay. All right. What we got?
Okay. So number one, a show that ran from August of 1988 to August of 1995.
Okay.
And I think it's worthy to be really documented in a documentary.
Okay.
Yo MTV Raps.
Absolutely. 100%.
American 2-hour television music
100%.
video program, once hosted by Fab Five Freddy, and then would say arguably more famously hosted by Dr. Dre and Ed Lover. The program was the first hip hop music show on MTV that produced a mix of rap videos, interviews with rap stars, live in-studio performances, as well as comedy. Run DMC hosted the pilot episode with DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince as the first guest, and Eric B. and Rakim's Follow the Leader as the first video shown on the program. The pilot was one of the highest rated programs to ever air on MTV at the time.
That's right.
And thus the show would then be spawned and become a huge sensation on the network and make stars out of Fat Five Freddy, who some may say was already on his way to iconic stature in the world of fashion and just pop culture in general. But that certainly catapulted him. And then it definitively made stars of the hosts that followed him, Ed Lover and Dr. Dre.
The devil is busy. You know, this is actually one of my triggers, like MTV and the history of MTV and the fairly well documented history of racism in the development of MTV. Like, you know, certainly we all know the Michael Jackson story and Michael Jackson's
you say
video.
We all know. That's already 50 years.
Right. Well, Michael Jackson's video was like the one of the very first, if not the first, black artist being played on MTV. And even
Is that Billie
then,
Jean?
Yeah, but even then, the record, and I'm so sorry I forgot the executive's name at Epic, who said if you don't play Michael Jackson's video,
pulling everything.
you can't. And he just died a couple of years ago. God bless him. You know, there's that famous interview that pops up every now and then where David Bowie is talking to one of the VJs about the lack of black music being played on the MTV. And it's like, it's got this wonderful quote where like the VJ is like, well, we just don't know if it would play with teenagers in, like, I think he said like Ohio. And David Bowie is like, are there not black teenagers in Ohio? Certainly Prince, Rick James, everyone. And like, I get angry sometimes when, you know, you kind of flipping the channel and you go to like 98.1 is like our kind of classic-y radio station here in Philadelphia. And this Drek that you know all the words to because they played it on MTV because it was rock.
Yeah.
But it was just sort of Drek, and you had these racist execs who would not let black music be played. And as you said, I think the pilot of Yo MTV Raps, they threw it on, I believe it was like 3 a.m. And
it still blew up.
It blew up, but they did everything in their power to keep hip hop off of MTV. And then once the floodgates opened, well, here we are.
Yeah.
Kendrick Lamar's playing the Super Bowl. But yeah, I don't think you can ever overemphasize the importance of Yo MTV Rap.
Yeah, and
within culture, not popular culture, not American culture, culture.
Right. And before anybody, at us or anything like that, fully recognizing the heritage, the legacy, and the importance of Video Jukebox, which precedes Yo MTV Raps.
Yeah, but Yo MTV Raps reach.
What I was going to say,
Yeah.
was that, yes, Video Jukebox was definitely a thing, and it is worthy to be praised and probably worthy of a documentary of its own.
Right.
I think there may be a documentary.
Sure, it was first.
It was first.
No doubt.
But Yo MTV Raps, let's be honest, like you said, it was national.
Right.
And because it was national, it thus changed the game.
And very quickly international.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just like, to me, it's much in the way of like, there is definitively hip hop that started, before Run DMC.
Of course.
But Run DMC changed the game.
King of Rock was one of those early videos that got played on MTV begrudgingly. Like, I feel like King of Rock was pre Yo MTV Raps, but even that was like if you gave me 10 minutes to Google, I can name, it was like 2 or 3 dudes at MTV who very actively and vocally said, we are keeping black music off of this station.
Exactly.
And certainly if that black music was hip hop, it was even worse. So
Yeah.
in their defense, they knew that once you open the door, it was going to be this.
It was right.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, absolutely.
All right.
All right.
So those are 5 shows.
All right.
that I think
5
were
shows. Good shows.
Documentary. All right.
All right.
All right. Let's keep it moving. It's now time for the Game of Kings.
All right.
Or as we like to call this, 6 Degrees of Derville Martin. Six Degrees of Derville Martin, where I give Vincent 2 actors, and he has 6 movies or less to connect them to Derville Martin, that star of 70s blaxploitation screens aplenty. Vincent, this is not in theme.
Okay.
This is solely because when I was trying to come up with the actors, I was watching Bullet.
Okay,
Old
that's good
Steve
time.
McQueen.
Hey, look, that's
Great
a good
Steve
time right
McQueen.
there. Yeah.
So I said, okay, let's find other Steves. So
You got a lot of Steves to choose from. Like you said it, and I just scrolled real quick. Yeah, go ahead.
Steves.
What Steves are we doing?
So number one,
Number
first Steve,
All right.
6 movies or less.
Steve, number 1.
Connect Derville Martin 2.
2.
Stephen Yoon.
Stephen Yoon. Okay. Well, the easiest way would be Nope, because Nope's been on my mind for the past 2 or 3 weeks. But we'll keep it old time. Let's see. Okay, because here you go. Because Derville Martin is in the final come down with here you go. Derville Martin is in the final come down with Billy D. Williams. Billy D. Williams is in the Scott Joplin story, the scourge of syphilis. With
This is not the real. That's just the working title. They chopped it down to the Scott Joplin.
literally one half of the movie is about Scott Joplin going crazy with syphilis. It's the most bizarre film. But he's in it.
Yes. Yes.
With the character who plays his wife that they heavily imply their child dies because of Scott Joplin's out of control syphilis. Check that out in the archives, folks. Margaret Avery. Mm-hmm. Margaret Avery is, of course, in The Color Purple with Danny Glover.
Yes.
And Danny Glover is in Sorry to Bother You with Stephen Yeun.
Is Stephen Yeun Sorry to Bother You?
Remember, he's the he's the labor.
Oh, you're
activist.
right. You're right.
He's a labor activist.
You're right.
That's actually where I start keeping my eye on him.
Okay.
Sorry to bother you. So there you go, Stephen Yeun.
Okay. Very good.
All right.
All right, Vincent. I knew that one would be easy.
Okay. Well, got to talk about Scott Joplin and the scourge of syphilis.
In 6 films or less, connect Derville Martin to this Steve.
Okay.
Stephen Fry.
Oh, that's one of those names. I know the name. Can I see his picture? Is he British?
Yes.
Is he like in Time Bandits or? Why do I see him with some wacky stuff going on?
He's done some wacky stuff. I do not believe he's in Time Bandits, though. No, he's not.
What science fiction-y? He's in something science fiction-y, right?
It's not really science fiction-y, but I don't. He's been in a few things, so I don't know what you're talking about. There's a couple of things that kind of ride that fence.
Yeah, tell me it's late. God, just what's he in?
Okay,
Because I like see him with a pint, but then it's like some stars and it's not Time Bandits. What else is British and science fiction-y.
A pint and some stars?
Like he's not in any of those. He's not. Is he in any of those zombie movies?
What zombie?
He's not in Shaun of the Dead, is he?
No. No, he's not in Shaun.
What am I thinking of?
I have zero idea of what you're speaking of. You said like stars.
Right. Some.
And I'm trying. I'll tell you the last movie that he was in. You usually ask that question, okay? The last film that he was in was.
Is he like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? I'm just trying to think of British stuff, and I feel like Doctor Who-y.
Hold on. He is not in a Hitchhiker's Guide to the. Oh no, he is. He is.
Yeah, because he's like real British in it.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, he's in it.
Why are you saying it like that? Is he not in it?
He's in it. Yes, he's in it.
Why are you saying it like that?
He's the narrator.
Yeah, but doesn't he talk about drinking a pint or something?
Perhaps. I've only seen the movie once.
Yeah. It was my favorite book when I was 14 because I was a nerd, a hardcore nerd.
You were. Right?
Oh yeah. I was hardcore. I loved them Douglas Adams books.
That's interesting because I wasn't reading Douglas Adams when I was 14.
Well, I was a hardcore nerd. Yeah, see.
What was I reading?
I was born into this.
I was reading the Tom Swift books.
Yeah. But because most Def's in that.
Yes.
Yeah, so all right.
And so is
It doesn't matter because most Def's in it. So this is how we gonna do that. Here you go. So Derville Martin is in 5 on the Black Hand Side with Leonard Jackson. I'm going roundabout, but I think I can get to him. So you got Leonard Jackson. Leonard Jackson is in Boomerang with Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy is in Dreamgirls with Beyonce.
yes.
Beyonce is in Cadillac Records with Mos Def. And in Mos Def, remember he plays Chuck Berry. And then Mos Def is in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yes.
With Stephen Fry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now be honest.
Yeah.
Did you pull Hitchhiker's Guide? Because I see that Lisa Alexander in the chat mentions it.
No.
Because I know sometimes your eyes.
No. Look, when we're doing this, I'm locked in.
Okay.
Yeah. I was looking at you the whole time.
Well,
Yeah.
doesn't mean your eyes can't
Yeah.
do a quick.
No.
Was that the science fiction movie you were
Yeah,
thinking of?
because it's very British science fiction.
It is.
Like that's why I said Time Bandits. It's very much like this is science fiction, but it's weird science fiction. It's like they play those Tom Baker Doctor Who's in the 80s on PBS out of order. And it was like it's robots, it's aliens, but this is real weird, and I don't know if I like it.
Okay.
What were you thinking about?
Well, I didn't know if you were trying to pull The Hobbit because he's in The Hobbit.
Who was he in The Hobbit? You know what? I never actually saw The Hobbit.
I saw the first one. He's the master of Lake Town. But I knew he was in that, and he's Mycroft in those Sherlock Holmes movies with Robert Downey Jr. He plays Mycroft.
Oh, he sure is.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I wasn't sure which one of those.
No, it was wacky British science fiction.
Okay, all right. And he's been through,
I know he's been in. Yeah, he's absolutely fair game.
He's in one of my favorite movies.
Is it Wuthering Shoulders of Destiny? Wuthering Shoulders of Destiny with Dame Julius Chantilly.
AKA Gosford Park.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. It has like scenes with a very tense T.
No,
It's a very tense T.
Vincent, you'll never believe
very
me.
tense
You will
tea.
never believe me. You would love Gosford Park.
It's got like the
Gosford Park is a murder
It's
mystery.
like the tea service.
It's
and
a
then,
murder
like,
mystery,
Teresa,
that's it.
you see the big one, and you go and you reach for, and then people say you actually eat it from the. Yeah.
I know. I just have to let you go. You would like Gosford Park. I really do.
I'm sure it's very good.
You will never watch it.
Never is a big word.
It's not that big. It's only 5 letters.
Come on, listen. Come on, it is so late because of you, not me. Let's go. And now let's get into our documentary. Adjust Your Color, the Petey Greene story.
Very good, Vincent. Mm-hmm. Okay. Head of the game here. Mm-hmm. Let me pull it up. Just your...
The Truth of Petey Greene.
Yes. An early radio disc jockey. An early radio disc jockey tackles controversial topics in the 60s and 70s of Washington, D.C. Adjust Your Color, The Truth of Petey Greene is a documentary from 2008 directed by Lauren Mendel that tells the story of one Petey Greene. I don't think it is going too far out on a limb, a revolutionary figure, not only in radio, but in Black history, and definitely worthy of review. In this documentary, selected by Vincent for this stop on Dock to School here on the Micheaux Mission. Vincent, what say you of Adjust Your Color, The Truth of Petey Greene?
This is, subject-wise, one of my favorite kinds of documentary. And that is one that covers a topic that I don't know much about.
Oh, okay.
And then the documentary teaches me about it. And Petey Greene is very much one of these figures that we've kind of been talking about throughout this episode, actually. These kind of figures in Black history that don't necessarily cross over into the broader history. Petey Greene was, as you said, he was many things. You know, they called him like a mouth and maybe a comedian, but he's best known as someone who hosted a show originally on the radio in Washington, D.C., and then eventually on local television in Washington, D.C., Petey Greene's Washington. And he is someone who basically recreated himself. He had served time in prison.
Yes, he did.
He had a substance abuse problem. I think he was an alcoholic until he died, and he represented this voice of people, Black people, who didn't have a voice. And he served as this person who channeled their voice in D.C., both on this show and then eventually in the community. As I mentioned, he was unabashedly a D.C. phenomenon.
Yes, he was.
You know, one thing that the documentary discusses is that when there were efforts to take him to a national level, for whatever reasons, it never happened. But regardless of why it didn't happen, it seemed like he was very much content being someone from, of, and about Black Washington, D.C. And one of the details that I love about this documentary is that he really gets the sort of classic, historic Black DC stamp of approval. Like anytime you have Chuck Brown, the godfather of go-go, Marion Barry mayor for life, and Mrs. Ali, who owns the iconic Ben's Chili Bowl. Like, you have all three of them show up to speak on you. This is someone who represents a Washington, D.C. that, you know, frankly, I think is fading away.
Yep.
You know, just because regentrification and things change and so on and so forth. And as you mentioned, Don Cheadle made a movie based on his life, Talk to Me, but even that movie is over 10 years old at this point. So I don't even know.
Isn't? I thought that movie came out in 2007.
It's 2024. I said it's over 10 years old.
Oh, I thought you meant at the time of this.
No. I mean now.
Okay.
I mean, right, like even now as a document for this cultural phenomenon, I like that this exists. And certainly as this personality and the bit that they talk about his life, I'm glad that it exists. Because there was this whole world of these black commentators, black talking heads, localized, that you would see. You know, I can't speak to Philadelphia because these were probably local people, but, you know, you think about things that you would see in the D.C. area, like, you know, Tony Brown and you know, Kojo Nnamdi and these people who were, again, these local figures who held this space. And I love that about this. If it was just talking heads, I would say, okay, I like this. I'm glad it exists. They also have footage from his shows. And you know the documentary starts out with maybe the most famous footage from Petey Greene, where he's eating this watermelon and talking about why black people should not be embarrassed to eat watermelon. And my critique of this as a documentary is that the footage of Petey Greene himself is so provocative, so evocative, so entertaining. Every time they cut away from the footage of Petey Greene to talk about Petey Greene, I just wanted to see Petey Greene. Like as much as I love the fact that, again, the aforementioned people, Robert Hooks, who we were just talking about a few weeks ago, in Trouble Man shows up.
Actually having a personal
relationship. You know, Sugar Ray Leonard, people from around D.C. Like, I love that they give him his flowers. I have to say, there was never a moment when someone discussed Petey Greene that I wish they didn't just show Petey Greene.
Yeah.
And that is, you know, I think that is something that a lot of documentaries kind of stumble. Like, the reason we made this documentary about this subject is that we think this subject is interesting enough to document. But because it's so interesting, as the viewer, you kind of want them to get out the way. And, you know, it's, you know, this is my bread and butter. Like grainy footage from the 70s and early 80s, and a dude talking crazy and looks like it was on public access.
Yeah, it was.
It was, you know, it kind of had a Bob Ross feel to it, but
Franklin,
but blacker. I love that. I love that. So, you know, I like that part of it. The other thing that I really like, that we've kind of touched on periodically, like I think about a conversation that we had after we watched a piece of the action. This moment, the television show ran from 1977 to 1983. And again, this is in Washington, D.C. Speaking of Marion Barry, this is a fascinating moment to me historically for black people, because this is that kind of transitional moment where you know the sort of formal part of the civil rights movement has ended. You have that kind of wave of post-civil rights black people that graduated from college. Marion Barry famously opened up these government jobs so that black people could move into the middle class just because of these jobs. Unions kind of opened up. So, we talked about it in A Piece of Action, because A Piece of Act, that's the third movie in this sort of loose trilogy. But this is the one where Bill Cosby has shaved and cut his hair down a little bit, and Sidney Poitier is like, they're not working men anymore.
Yeah,
like they're wearing suits. And I'm fascinated by this moment where black people are kind of putting together this formula of how I'm going to be middle class. Like, how have I, quote unquote, made it? And Petey Greene really represented this tension where I'm speaking for people who either A, don't buy in to what y'all are selling about, I got to do this, that, and the other to be, quote unquote, middle class, or B, have been left behind. And I wish that part of it would have been sharper. Like, again, there's so much subtext that's barely subtext with him eating the watermelon and talking about black people and they're ashamed to eat watermelon. They want to cut up in little pieces and make a fruit salad and this, that, and the other. And there's so much there. But, I'm glad it exists.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you want it to exist, but by the same token, like you just said, you still want a little bit more. Like, I agree with you that the archival footage of Petey Greene is priceless. It's absolutely priceless to see him in his element, being unapologetically who he is, right? And it is interesting to hear Robert Hooks and Chuck Brown and a lot of people who knew him from his youthful age, or even when he was in prison, to hear that element of him was always there, right? He remakes himself when he comes out of prison, but it basically is, does he really remake himself, or does he really just stick to his guns about, I'm never going back there again? Right?
Right.
Because he was pretty much still the same, mouth, who definitely could charm everyone he met. Maybe, they don't really talk about his education, but maybe not as book smart as everybody else, but certainly had more on the balls as far as like common sense.
Sure.
Which will take you very far. My mother has always said that. And who, when he came out of prison, recognized the power of being his authentic self. Because being his authentic self is what allowed him to survive in prison. And he realized that will allow him to survive the world of outside, recognizing that could be a prison into itself if he allowed it to be. And he was steadfast against allowing that to happen to himself. And all of that is embodied in the archival footage, like you said. What you want, like you said, is you just, if you're going to talk about him, or at least what I want, let me put it that way. If you're going to talk about him, then talk really about him. Be authentic about who he is. Because there's a lot of praise given to the man, but I don't know how much of an exploration of the man is there. There is some, there is verbiage given to his upbringing, to him living with his grandmother, to him having a wife and having children. But there's not much exploration of that relationship. Right. That, there is, lip service given to some of his foibles, some of his drinking issues, some of his drug issues, but there's no real true examination. it basically is just lip service to say like, yeah, we mentioned it, and let's move on. And I guess an argument can be made to, well, we didn't want to show that side, but this documentary is made in 2008, long past since the man had passed.
Right.
And like you said, even at that point, he was a figure and a name that was already being lost to time. The time you're going to get, this is probably going to be your only time at bat in regards to giving the full account of the man. And I don't think any of that takes away from who he is.
No,
because it doesn't make the argument, but certainly an argument can be made that whatever demons he gave into by way of alcohol or drugs may have been because of him fighting to be his authentic self and fight away, against whatever other demons might have been calling him back to the pen.
Right.
An argument can be made about that. It would have been interesting to see all these people who seemingly had a personal relationship with him of their thoughts in that regards, so and I found that a little missing, especially because the archival footage is so tantalizing that you wanted to get more of a sense of the man behind of who he is.
Sure. I mean, to your point, there's this amazing moment where they show him in this archival footage with two of his children.
Yes.
So you think, much like they did with there's this early footage with Donna Brazile. There's early footage with someone who went on to be the president of TV One.
Yes.
And then they circle back around. You think, well, certainly these two children, now that they're adults, have some type of input, something that they want to contribute,
something
about
to offer
their
about
father.
who their father
and
is.
And I'm not trying to hit below the belt. I only bring it up because they're in the documentary. And once you introduce his family, once you introduce this, it is striking.
It becomes conspicuous that they're not
there, which to your point leads you to think they're not really talking about him as a man that much.
That's right.
Like, there's a lot about Petey Greene as a DC phenomenon, which obviously is what the bulk of it should be. But again, like you said, not only is this probably the only shot, but to put it in the proper context, Don Cheadle is narrating it because Don Cheadle is in the movie version of his life. So clearly he's won. Like, I understand the instinct to be protective of him.
Yes.
I absolutely understand. I always, one of the frustrating things about the documentary series Unsung is that, like, oftentimes the participants are so protective of the principle that you always get the sense they're holding back.
Yes.
But Unsung is it's right there in the title. This is about people who are unsung. These are about people who haven't had a chance to shape their narrative. Like Don Cheadle,
his narrative,
his involvement is letting you know that Petey Greene's narrative is and his legacy is secure and safe. So you can dig a little deeper. Once again, not to keep repeating ourselves, especially when the current footage is competing with 25-year-old Howard Stern in blackface.
Yeah.
And a wig.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm really happy that this sister who is an activist in DC is talking about how he served as a mentor, but can we cut back to him sitting in that butterfly chair talking crazy, because that's what you kind of want to see.
I know.
More than anything else.
Yeah.
And again, I'm going to just again repeat again, like, this is such a fascinating moment in DC's history.
It is.
With this we're knocking right on the door of crack. Like, as I said, the show comes on 77, goes off in 83. Like, we're right there where this is going. And I felt like there was so much opportunity to use Petey Greene as a doorway to talk about these broader issues and how he fits in there.
Yeah, I would have. I mean, and I don't know if perhaps the footage is not there, because you don't know how much, they had, because a lot of it was public access, even though it does at one time become a syndicated show.
Right, on BET apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. It would have been interesting to just see how his show shapes and move as Washington D.C. shapes and move, especially considering that his radio career starts pretty much in the wake of the assassination of Martin Luther King. Right. And he actually plays a part in kind of like quieting some of the riots that are going on at that time. To see how he moves in that space, as much as this show, the documentary presents him as the provocateur as he was, they also, again, here's that word, give lip service to him as an activist. Right. But without saying what he's an activist for. And he actually is an activist for returning prisoners to society. But I learned that from just doing my own homework. Right. That's not really spoken about in the documentary itself. It's just that he is an activist. Right. He is a voice of the people. How so is he a voice of the people? It would have been nice to see some people who, him being out there affected. There is an interesting moment where he has an opportunity to appear on the Johnny Carson show. Yeah. And, and this was very interesting because in the movie Talk to Me, he actually appears on a Johnny Carson show and he bombs out. But in actuality, he doesn't make it to the Tonight Show. And there's some ambiguity of it as exactly why. Some say he was out on a bender. Right. Some say he, he may have been high. Right. One of the leading theories, though, is that he was a little unsure about that spotlight, and he wasn't sure if he wanted that spotlight.
Well, again, his manager, the person who kind of facilitated Dewey Hughes, who, if you are from the DMV, and to a certain extent nationwide, but certainly the DMV, the Hughes name is very famous because his ex-wife is, of course, Kathy Hughes, who owns TV One, and started to build her empire in DC. So that Johnny Carson moment, once again, would be a perfect time to talk about these sort of conflicting aims. Yep. Where Dewey Hughes certainly had aspirations to be bigger, faster, brighter.
And he mentions it, to his credit. He mentions
that. He mentions it. Well, again, the Hughes family is they showed and proved. That was never Petey Greene's bag.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's sitting right there to unpack. And like the bag is sitting right there for you to unpack. And they never do it.
They never turn the camera inward.
Like, as you said, Dewey Hughes seems like he's open to talk. Like, he's very open.
Wants to go there.
He very much participated. He very much, and you have to assume how much he contributed to the film version of this Talk to Me, where, you know, he's played by Chiwetel Ejiofor and is damn near the co-star. So when you talk about Petey Greene, you have to talk about Dewey Hughes and everything that goes along with that. And it's you don't get that. And I think the real shame of it is, as you said, this may be the only documentary we ever get.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, shame. And you talk about that archival footage about Howard Stern. To his credit, Howard Stern has said often on his radio show and in his book, Private Parts, he speaks about the inspiration that Petey Greene was for him, and that Petey Greene was an unrecognized genius in this space. And you see it as crazy as Howard Stern looks in the blackface, and you know, give him a pass if you want or not. You know, he is in his 20s at this time, and you know, a knucklehead. But you see it in their exchange.
Yes, you do.
In that Petey Greene,
absolutely,
you know, he accepts it. Okay, you're going to sit there in the blackface. I'm going to let you do your thing. But then he schools him.
Yes.
He schools him and the audience about, you know, the racism inherent in his performance, but the racism that lives in both of them, but at the heart, they're the same.
Again, the power of this footage. Visually, I only know Howard Stern as the fully formed Howard Stern from the late 80s, 90s, where he is, again, fully formed. It was striking to me that they have this, you know, they're kind of going back and forth, and like you said, they're doing a bit basically, and Howard Stern is in blackface and he looks ridiculous. But when Petey Greene starts to actually teach, when the camera cuts to Howard Stern, I have never seen Howard Stern as passive and as attentive.
That's the word.
It was almost like he was in a class.
Yes, that's the word. He was attentive.
And all of the outrageousness, all of the this, that, and the other, you could tell Howard Stern was sitting at the foot of the master. And Petey Greene thought Howard Stern could learn.
Yes.
And that's way more powerful than you know, just this other stuff.
Yeah.
There's a there's a moment towards the end where Petey Greene is talking to an activist named, because I wrote it down, Midge Costanza.
Yes.
Who is a feminist activist that Petey Greene has on in the 80s. And Petey Greene is very much doing the Petey Greene stuff, and you know, he accidentally, quote unquote, calls her a broad and this, that, and the other. Sidebar, one of the observations that someone makes early in the documentary is that, you know, Petey Greene, he's outrageous, so he's doing all, but they said he was always very intentional. Like, you could tell there's not one time Petey Greene said nigga or cracker or anything that you could tell, I'm using this word at this moment for a specific reason. And there's a back and forth between the two of them. They show footage when the interview first starts, and Petey Greene's being outrageous, and he's doing, you know, because at this point, it's towards the end of his show. You can tell as time goes on because his hair gets a little oilier.
Yeah.
And then they kind of basically fast forward to the end of the episode. And she is so relaxed. And they're having this conversation. And Petey Greene actually lampshades it and says, this is what I wanted to happen. Like, I wanted you to be comfortable. I wanted you to get across what you're getting. He's given her this platform to talk about things. And then at one moment, he jokes and says that I think you might be trying to say that I'm gay, and I'm not gay, but he doesn't say gay. And she says, oh, this, that, and the other. And then he gets serious and says, no, let's be clear. I am for gay rights. I am for everybody. I'm not trying to offend anybody. And I'm just going to keep saying it. The footage of Petey Greene with Midge Costanza did more to let me know about the complexities, the intelligence, the appeal of this man than anything that the, quite frankly, quite eloquent observations that the talking heads made
Right.
could have.
Which is why you want the talking heads to more focus on the personal.
Which is why you want
Because you've got
talking heads,
everything else.
Everything, like Petey Greene can represent Petey Greene.
Exactly.
I need you to talk about the other
The
stuff.
one that's not in front of the camera.
Right.
And that's the missed opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
With that being said, would you still recommend that people see Adjust Your Color, The Truth of Petey Greene?
I would. I think anytime our critique is we want more, like that, in my mind, that's the most backhanded Micheaux mission compliment these projects get. Like when I went in and I saw it was only 53 minutes, before I even turned it on, because I remember watching it, but then I had forgotten so much of it. I remember thinking, oh my God, why is it only 53 minutes? Like, certainly you could have done an hour and a half on Petey Greene. And by the end of the documentary, I thought the same thing. Having said that, these 53 minutes are better than nothing.
Yeah. There you go.
So I absolutely think you should watch this documentary.
So do I. I think he is definitely a life worth reliving. This, if for no other reason, the archival footage to watch. If I'm sure there's probably footage of Petey Greene out there on YouTube. Everything on YouTube now.
Right.
But the documentary is definitely worth visiting to see this man in action, and he was quite a man.
Quite a man. And you should watch Talk to Me, which I think is a film that may have started to fade away.
That's fair. Yeah. Talk to Me is definitely worth revisiting, and then after you watch that, you can listen to our review of the film.
The quote unquote problem with Chiwetel Ejiofor, Don Cheadle, and Taraji P. Henson is that they just kept making amazingly good movies after that.
I know.
So it's like,
couldn't you just, y'all were good.
All right.
Just go home.
Right, Taraji P. Henson, like, maybe I'll get nominated for an Academy Award twice after this.
But then there was Fight Night. But that'll wait till next week.
Yes.
All right. Speaking of next week, before we tell you what we're going to be reviewing next week, and this is homework. I'm gonna lampshade that. This is homework.
Oh, no doubt.
This is homework next week. But before we get there, if you want to hear your thoughts here, read aloud here on the Micheaux Mission, please send us an email at micheauxmission@gmail.com. That's MICHEAUXMISSION@gmail.com. You can always find us on the social media of your choice, whether it be X, Instagram, or Facebook at Micheaux Mission. On Facebook, you can join our Facebook group where our missionaries talk back and forth with one another, sharing all of the news that is going on in Black Hollywood. And we pop in there every once in a while as well. You can always, please, subscribe to the Micheaux Mission as a podcast on Apple or Spotify, where you can leave us a 5-star rating or a review, because that really helps people find our show. And you can always find us on YouTube at Micheaux Mission, where you can hit the bell, subscribe, and also be notified of when we put up our new videos, when we go live every Tuesday night. And please tell a friend about our show, whether it be the podcast, whether it be the YouTube show. Tell them about the show and bring them here.
I would actually ask in the next week if everyone, this is a personal plea. If everyone could tell 3 people about the show, that'd be great.
Well, look at Vincent.
Look, we were trying to get. I'm trying to get some of that Russian money. They were paying them people $100,000 an episode. I said, God damn. That's some real Russian propaganda right there.
Okay. All right. He dipped into the news there for a little bit. The Micheaux Mission is also streams live out of Young Junk, Philadelphia's premier podcast palace here in the Manayunk section of Philadelphia. If you want to book yourself in one of the many studios here at Young Junk, you can email our producer, Dylan, at youngjunk.com. That's DYLAN at youngjunk.com. Dylan will book you in one of our studios, and he will have one of the many Dylanettes help produce your show. The Micheaux Mission is also a proud member of The Podglomerate, thepodglomerate.com. They make podcasts work, such as ours, which will be returning next week for Doc to School. It is actually Doc to School to the fourth power, as we will be sitting with another selection from Vincent.
Yeah.
And this is homework.
But it
is essential.
We'll skip to the end with that review.
From arguably Vincent's favorite filmmaker.
It is.
Spike Lee.
It is.
In his heralded documentary series.
Yeah, 4 episodes, 4 hours.
When the Levees Broke.
When the Levees Broke.
The story of Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans.
So y'all start now.
Yeah. So, well, after the debate, you can start.
Look.
People want to know the debate, Vincent.
Okay, sure.
People want to watch. People are, you know what? They're lining up for the debate like they line up for a Mike Tyson fight. That's why they want to see the debate. That is exactly why they want to see this debate. And we all know who is Mike Tyson in this debate.
Don't we?
All right. Well, I'll talk about it next week here on the Micheaux Mission. Until then, he's Vincent, I'm Len, and in parting, we say,
we'll see you when it's time to meet again.